I'm joined here today by the Hurricane himself, Shane Burgos, set to fight Makwan Americani at UFC 244. Thanks so much for the time, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. No problem. Thanks for having me.
Of course, man. First things first, before we get into this fight and everything, I want to talk about UFC 244. This main event, I'm asking all the fighters who are on the card, what was your reaction when you found out you'd be on the card that has Nate Diaz and Jorge Masvidal?
Oh man, it's an awesome fight. It's one of those fights that you just know on paper it's impossible for that fight to suck. Those are two of my favorite fighters right now. I'm a huge Masvidal fan. I'm a huge Nate Diaz fan, so I'm super pumped for that fight.
And do you think that's something that's going to bring extra eyeballs to your fight, or do you think that's going to be it's going to depend?
No, I think for sure. I mean, everyone wants to see this card. This card is insane. It's definitely one of the best cards I think in a couple of years. So I think a lot of eyeballs will be on that fight. And I just found out that I'm on ESPN too, so it makes it even better for me.
For sure, and we do know that there is a sort of a belt on the line, the BMF title. As a fighter yourself, who I'm sure is eyeing the featherweight belt himself, what did you think when you heard of this title they were making, kind of out of thin air?
I think it's funny. I'm not in the division, so that doesn't really matter to me. You know what I mean, if it was my division, maybe I would feel a little different. Like I see a lot of the welterweights don't really like it, but it's not my division, so it doesn't affect my life at all. But there are two bad motherfuckers, so I'm excited for it. It's fun.
All right, let's talk about your fight since we're speaking about things that are exciting and fun. You're taking on Mr. Finland himself. What was your reaction when you got the call, I assume from your management, about this next opponent?
Let's go. Let's do it.
No
That's what it was.
hesitation?
Nope. I needed to fight, man. I got a family to provide for, and all the rank guys were taken, so I was like, it's what it is. I don't care.
I mean, what did you think of him when you first heard his name? I mean, I assume you've watched him fight before?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of the sport, so everyone, especially in my division, I always have my eyes on everyone in my division. But yeah, I've seen all his fights in the UFC just as a fan.
And so, do you think this is going to produce an exciting matchup? I mean, did you see anything in there that kind of got you excited for this one?
Yeah, for sure. I like the matchup stylistically for myself a lot. I think it's going to come down to basically a wrestler versus a striker versus a grappler kind of fight. I think he's going to be trying to grapple me most of the time, and I think I'm obviously going to keep it on the feet most of the time. And it's going to make for a fun fight because I plan on stuff in every single one of his takedowns and making him forcing him to stand with me.
And so, what's your training camp like for this fight? Is it going to be any different? You mentioned sort of he's got that strong wrestling background. Is it going to be any different for this fight, or is it the same it's always been?
Same as always been, just a little bit more emphasis on my wrestling and sparring with guys that are specific to his style.
And so, we see the shirt you're wearing. It's currently Tiger Schulman. I believe that's in Thailand.
No. The Tiger Muay Thai is in Thailand. Tiger Shulman is my gym.
Oh, that's right. I'm getting it. Yeah, it's the Tiger that's throwing me off.
Yeah, it's all good.
And who are you training with for this fight? I mean, do you have anyone specifically that's going to help you out in this one?
One of my main training partners, I've been training this dude for years now, probably like a decade. Julio Arce, he's fighting on the card with me too. He's another 45er. He's lefty like my opponent. He's a phenomenal grappler, phenomenal wrestler that nobody really knows about, and he's going to surprise a lot of people with his own fight too.
Yeah, for sure. I was talking to Julio the other day, so we know it's going to be an exciting one. How helpful is it having a training partner you're close to that's going to be fighting on the same card as you?
Oh, it's awesome, man. The energy in the training room is through the roof. I mean, when you're training for yourself, you're focused on your own fight. The energy is still there, but when everyone has the same goal, we're all fighting for that same date. The energy it's electric.
And so I assume when he's helping with your fight, that means you have to help him with his fight as well. Like there's a certain trade-off there.
Exactly. He's fighting a Muay Thai guy that wants to keep it on the feet, and I'm fighting a guy that wants to take it to the ground, so it works out. Julio is probably one of the most well-rounded fighters you ever see. That dude, this is I think his fourth time fighting in the Garden. He won the Golden Gloves there. He had a glory kickboxing fight there. He fought MSG last year there, so he's done all three sports there, and the dude's a stud.
For sure, and I want to talk about your last fight. I feel like a lot of people looked at that as kind of your coming out performance or the one that put you on the map. How do you sort of look back at your performance in that fight?
I'm happy with the performance. Definitely critique myself a lot in that fight, and I think I did a lot better. But overall, I give myself like a solid B.
And do you agree with that? Do you feel like that was your sort of coming out performance? Like people kind of finally realize who you are and now people look at you as a contender?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you have a win over Cub Swanson. If you look at his record, the only guys that have beaten him are legit guys. So a win over him, I knew that he was going to do exactly what we're talking about right now. So he's definitely has the highest stock name value that anyone has for.
And we know it was a split decision. What's going through your mind when you're standing in the cage and you have Bruce Buffer out there reading out the scores?
I'm about to get robbed on half my paycheck. That's what I was starting to think. Honestly, I was like, we get paid our win money and our show money and our win money, and if you show up and you get robbed by the judges, that's it. It's what it is. So yeah, my heart dropped a little bit. I really thought I won every round. I thought maybe one of the rounds was close, but I really thought I won all the rounds.
For sure. And what did that fight do for your career? I mean, did you feel like a big difference, even when you log back into social media and everything? Did you see a big difference in the way kind of everything was afterwards?
Yeah, I got a lot more fan interaction and stuff like that, which was cool. Because I mean, like I said, Cub's got a huge name, he's got name value, and when Cub fights, every fan tunes in, not just hardcore fans, but casual fans too. So I was able to get some rub off on that.
And we do know you've been with the UFC for a little bit. You've been in a lot of these fights. You did take your first loss, I believe it was against Calvin Kattar. Was that sort of, a lot of these undefeated fighters, say the first one, it's always helpful. It kind of sends you back out there and sort of helps you clean up your game. Was that helpful for your career, or was it just bothered you more than anything else?
Oh, of course it bothered me, but it sounds so cliche and so corny, but it made me obviously it made me hungry. It made me starving for a win. It made me appreciate winning so much because I had only one. You know, it's usually, my mindset was, I go out there, I'm going to fight, and I'm going to win. There's no other option. So to lose, it stung, and it made me appreciate winning.
And did that change your mentality at all, or sort of even your training? Did it change a lot for you, or was it just about kind of staying focused and not making any mistakes?
It just made me train even harder, honestly. And again, it sounds so cliche, and everyone says it all the time, but it's so true. It just made me hungry. I never want to lose again.
For sure. I do want to come back to Cub Swanson because he did fight recently this weekend. A lot of people are kind of talking about him. Is he done with his career and stuff like that? What did you think about his performance against Ice Cream Chrome?
I think he looked awesome. That was a great game plan to stay away from the cage and kept switching stances every time Chrome got close. We just switch his stance and circle out. I thought it was a genius game plan, and the fact that he stayed to it, stuck to it all 3 rounds, I was impressed. Not just that, but his boxing looked really good too. He was going to the body hard and front. He can take a shot.
I mean, were you surprised that he kept it on the feet and didn't try to take it to the ground?
No, I think he tried to take it to the ground. I don't think he's much of a wrestler. I think he's a body lock kind of guy where he'll get you against the cage, drag you to the ground. So that's why I think Cron's game plan was just to go forward on Cub, get Cub against the fence, and drag him to the ground. But Cub never stood still, which, like I said, a genius game plan. That was a real veteran game plan. He just kept moving, kept switching stances, circling out.
And so your fight against Makwan, what does this kind of do for your career at this point? We know the Cub Swanson did a lot. What does this fight do? Is it just another win on your streak? Is it something that you think is really going to put you in the upper echelon? What does this do for your career if you get the impressive victory out there?
Yeah, I got to go out there and not just win, but win emphatically. And I think that a big win will be a big step in the right direction. Even though his name value is not as high as Cub Swanson's, I think a big win will just do maybe a little bit less than having a win over a big name guy. So I'm excited to go out there and perform and not just get a win, but make a statement.
I mean, you mentioned the name quality. Were you surprised that this was who the UFC put you with next? I mean, were you expecting a bigger fight, or does it not really matter at this point?
It really doesn't matter at this point. I mean, but I was expecting a bigger name, but they said everyone was taken or booked up or whatever. So I said, all right, it is what it is. I want to be on this card. It's a huge card. It's in my hometown. It's an hour away from my house. So I was like, it doesn't matter who. It's fine.
And so what kind of fight are you expecting out there? Is this going to be, well, obviously you don't know yet, but I mean, do you expect this to be a brawl, something that's going to be heavily contested on the ground? What kind of fight are you expecting out there?
I mean, I expect it to be on the feet 100% because I'm going to make him pay every time he shoots. I think I'm going to stop all his takedowns and make him have to stand with me. But it's going to be a fun fight one way or another. I'm ready to go anywhere. If we go to the ground, that's fine. I'm comfortable on the ground. I'm comfortable on the feet. I'm comfortable in the clinch. I pride myself on being a well-rounded fighter, and I'm definitely going to be conditioned to go 3 hard rounds. So I'm excited to test his cardio in those later rounds if it goes late.
For sure. I have just one more for you. Kind of an obvious question, this one, but how do you see yourself winning this fight? How do you see this one playing out?
Impressively. It's either going to be a knockout or a submission. I really don't want to go. I mean, it's so cliche again with the I'm going to finish him, yeah, but I have to finish him. That's why I'm putting all that pressure, not just to win. I don't just want to win. I have to finish him. If I don't finish him, then I'm considering that a loss. I got to get a finish this fight.
All right, well, we're looking forward to it. Obviously, it's going to be a great fight. I don't have to tell you that. Thanks so much for the time, man. I really appreciate it.
No problem, man. Have a good one. Thanks for having me again.